Good evening, everybody. I'm Gina Duvernay, the Adult Services Manager for Gwinnett County Public Library. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We are happy to partner with Read It Again Books with this gorgeous display. Yes, thank you so much for being here. They are a family-owned new and used bookstore, and they'll be here for the duration of the event, so you can stop by, browse any books or purchase any that you may want signed after the talk. And tonight, we're thrilled to host author Kimberly Belle. Kimberly Belle is the Edgar Award-winning and USA Today best-selling author with more than 1 million copies sold worldwide, with titles including The Paris Widow and The Marriage Lie. Kimberly's novels have been optioned for film and television and selected by Library Reads, Amazon, and Apple Books editors as Best Books of the Month. She was also a nominee for the Best Book of the Year by the International Thriller Writers. Kimberly divides her time between Atlanta and Amsterdam. We're glad you're here in the Atlanta area tonight. And moderating tonight's talk is none other than Kimberly Carpenter. I'm sorry, Emily Carpenter. Emily, the former actor, producer, screenwriter, and behind-the-scenes soap opera assistant, was born and raised in Alabama. After graduating from Auburn University, Roll Tide, she moved to New York City and now lives in Georgia with her family. She is the author of Burying the Honeysuckle Girls, The Weight of Lies, and Gothic Town, which is in development as a TV series. Let's give them a warm welcome.
That's hilarious. The funny thing is, I care nothing about football, but I will get into it with the War Eagle. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for those introductions. Read It Again, Kim, you guys, we love you so much, and we love the Gwinnett County Library system. What? I'm speaking too close to the microphone. Kim, oh my gosh. Okay,
I know.
So I'm going to try really hard in this conversation not to lapse into, because you and I are friends and I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. Well, we can talk about that too.
I know. I don't want to lapse into okay, tell me what you've been doing. What are you working on?
How are the kids?
I know, yes. What's going on? Let's house the dog.
Yeah.
Daisy the dog. So we'll try not to do that. We'll try to stay on point and talk about this book because this book is fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm very curious, before we get into the nitty gritty, how many people have read The Expat Affair?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, we got lots to talk about and no spoilers.
And that is the hard thing about talking about thrillers is tiptoeing around the spoilers.
Right.
So we're going to be very careful, but what we want to start with is just a brief sort of elevator pitch, synopsis, log line, whatever they call it. Tell the folks what
the book's about. So The Expat Affair is about two American women, both of them expats in Amsterdam. One of them, Raina, is there to start over. She just had a disastrous divorce in the U.S. and she's there for adventure, and her adventure starts very soon after she arrives. She goes home with a guy one night, wakes up the next morning to find him dead on the shower floor. And
as one does.
As one does. And millions of dollars of diamonds missing from his safe. And then not so far across town is another woman named Willow. She's been there for a little bit longer, 5 years or so. She's, a little more assimilated into the Dutch culture. She's married to a Dutch man, the fifth generation heir to a diamond house. And so, she's she and Raina's worlds collide. And they feel this kinship with each other because they're both Americans in this foreign country, thousands of miles from home. But they also both have some things that they're not quite being totally honest about. And they're not entirely sure who to trust, but they're going to have to learn it really quickly because they get sucked into the underground diamond world in Amsterdam, and they're going to have to figure out who to trust in order to survive.
Yeah. Great.
Woo!
It's a wonderful book. I loved it. I thought it was similar to a lot of your other books, but also vastly different.
Yay.
Really kind of had this.
That's always the challenge, too,
It is
right?
a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in that genre, you're in that lane. So this was your 11th book?
This was my 10th solo book, but I've
Oh.
also co-written some books,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
officially the 12th, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 12th book. So that sort of begs the question of how do you come up with something new that feels fresh? I know you tell a story you've told me before and in other interviews of the story of Dear Wife waking up with the story, with the whole and basically watching the plot play out on the ceiling. But that doesn't always happen.
No, that's only happened to me once. It was literally a story that woke me up in the middle of the night, and it came out of me like, what? And that was Dear Wife. And I wish I could figure out how to make that happen again, because a lot of times, pitching, because I'm under contract for multiple books, but they're not always defined what those books are going to be. So I have to, pitch it to my editor, and we go back and forth sometimes a lot of times before we land on a story that sticks enough and that she's confident that will be a good story for me to tackle, but also isn't too similar to something they've already got on their list, because they're looking at, a lot of different angles that I'm not thinking about. But where do stories come from? I mean, well, they come from everywhere and nowhere, and sometimes when you need one, they're really hard to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a constant challenge to, I don't want to write the same story over and over again, but I also want to write the story that I really want to write, that's like in my heart, that I want to tell. So you have to find that balance.
Yeah, it is kind of a strange alchemy of what is pressing at you and what the market is calling
Market
for.
is another big one,
Yeah.
And the editors are thinking about that, like, oh, well, that's too similar to something that is coming out next year, and you want to be.
And we don't always have that
Right.
information.
Right.
Like a lot of times we're lost in our imaginations
Right.
and thinking like the story we want to tell. So this story,
Yes.
set in Amsterdam.
Yes. Well, that was the starting point, because you heard in my bio, I spend half the year there. And so I really wanted to write a story that would, on one hand, do the city justice, because it's such a beautiful, I don't know if you guys have ever been, it's a lovely place. It's gorgeous. It's like walking through a postcard. But it's also got, its seedy side. It's known for some, interesting things like the weed, the prostitution, that's all there. And the diamond, business, it's still alive and well there. And so when I landed on that part of the plot, I knew I had found my premise.
And so let's just talk about the Cullinan diamonds for a minute, because I did do a little bit of research, and I understand that they are in the possession of the British royal family.
Correct.
Okay, so you changed that a little bit in the book.
I did. I changed it. But the Cullinan diamonds, which are part of my plot in that it's what started this diamond house, the House of Prince. It's what it's called, and it's a very. I kind of plucked that story from real life. It's a different diamond house. Mine is fictional, but a real diamond house in Amsterdam. The great grandfather found this giant rock in a mine in Africa, smuggled it back to Europe, chopped it up into, I think, 6 or 8 different stones, and now I think most of them are in the royal whatever.
Yeah.
In
the
Britain.
crown jewels.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're hidden away,
Yeah,
I guess.
right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's a real stone. It was a real stone, and I used it in my story as well.
It weighed 3,000 carats.
Insanity, right?
I can't even. Like a boulder. It's insane.
Yeah, think about how much that's worth. Yeah.
And so you fold in this kind of new technology that I think people have probably heard of.
Yeah. So my plot revolves around the mine diamonds and lab-grown diamonds, which if you've followed at all what's going on in the industry, it's been majorly disrupted with these. They're not fakes, they're chemically exactly the same as a mine diamond, except it's grown in a lab, and it costs like maybe 1/10 of the price of the mine diamonds. And then on top of that, you have the whole mine diamond industry, the De Beers and all the big companies that have been, basically artificially keeping these prices up for forever, really. Yeah, I mean, apparently there are giant warehouses full of diamonds so that they can keep them off the market and keep the prices high of the diamonds that are on the market. And then you have these people who figured out how to do lab diamonds for 1/10 of the price, and they are exactly the same as the mine diamonds.
Yeah.
Well, think of all the shenanigans you can imagine around that.
That part was really fascinating to me, like the science of it and how
Yeah.
they etch the numbers and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
identifying marks.
Yeah.
And that was really fascinating
Yeah,
to
and
me.
that's also part of the problem is that there are machines that can tell you if it's a mine diamond or a lab grown, and I don't know enough about chemistry to be able to explain to you how they do that, but they can tell. But you only with these machines. If you are a gemologist with a loop and you look at a mine diamond or a lab grown diamond, you can't tell which is which. But with these machines you can. But there aren't that many machines. They're very expensive. People don't necessarily know what kind of shenanigans can be happening
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And maybe getting fooled by the people who are saying this is a real mine diamond and it's worth X when it's a lab grown. So that to me was just fascinating.
Yeah. So I definitely want to talk about Raina and Willow, our main characters. But first I want to talk about, you say shenanigans, and I think of this family. The Friends family.
Yes.
This was one of my favorite parts of the book, and it does have a very Succession
Yes.
feel to it. I mean, these are some nasty people who have grown up with everything.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the family and how you use them in the book.
So Thomas, Willow's husband, is, like I said, this 5th generation heir to this diamond house. And he is actually the second child. The father, who is the succession figure, has passed over the sister in order to hand the company to Thomas. And that creates a lot of friction in the family between the sister and the brother, and she definitely doesn't believe that he's the right person for the job, and maybe he's not the right person for the job. Maybe she's right about that, and maybe he kind of deep down knows that she's right about it, but he has some things to prove. And then you have this mother and father who have so much privilege and so much wealth, and just live on a completely different planet than the rest of the
really
people.
used to being treated by the
Yeah.
outside world and even their own family members like their royalty.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was a lot of fun to write too, because those, like, I don't know if you have any, if there are any Succession fans in the room, but it's just so obnoxiously crazy over the top that it's funny and it's fun, and it just adds a whole different dimension
that
to
level of what the uber wealthy do. I remember one of my friends sent me a picture from like a Architectural Digest, and there was like the bed and the nightstand and a faucet next to the bed, so you could get fresh water.
So you don't have to get out of
in the
bed.
middle of the night. Yes, I was like, well, okay, that's something to spend your
actually,
money on.
That sounds kind of handy. I might like that.
Put in that faucet in the middle of the night. Okay, so let's talk about Raina and Willow. And this was part of my enthusiasm and enjoyment of this book. I mean, you had told me about your early years when you first moved to Amsterdam and just meeting people and learning the language. But I was like, how much of this is Kimberly's experience and how much is she like fictionalizing? So can you talk about that?
So much, yeah. So, this book is really about, all the things I've already mentioned, and this murder and this, the shenanigans with the diamonds. But really, it's a story for these two women about reinvention and kind of finding your way when the whole rug underneath you has been ripped out. And that is something that, I moved to Holland willingly. It was because of a man. It's my husband. We're still married, so all is well there. But, it was one of those things that I don't think I realized how hard it was going to be until I got there. And then, it's like learning everything all over again. You don't even know how to pick up the phone. Like, what do you say? Do you say hello? No.
Yeah.
So it's really relearning everything on top of a new language, a new culture, making new friends. I knew one person when I moved there. So a lot of what I went through and the lessons I learned and the things that I had to struggle through ended up in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably therapy.
Well, that's a great example when people say, like, are these, is this character you? No, it's not you, but there's a part of you that you put into. And I think you really sense the vulnerability in both of these women.
Yeah.
It's like really admirable what they're doing and how hard they fight for themselves and their families.
Yeah, and especially too in Willow's case, she's the one who, her marriage is not great, and she's kind of trying to figure out, like, do I stay? Is this something that's worth, putting more effort into? But she also doesn't want to give up. And that
was actually a really unusual, I had never really seen that represented in a book. Usually you see like blissfully happy or things are on the rocks and terrible. And she was really in that place of, I'm not sure what's happening.
And she also has a son who has some, he has cochlear implants, and so he has some medical issues that, she kind of needs security of her marriage in order to be able to afford. So she has a lot of other things that she's, trying to sort through as well.
And you bring in some of those class issues, which
Yeah.
I know, I remember specifically your book about the lake.
Yeah, Stranger in the Lake.
Yeah, Stranger in the Lake. Really had those kind of class issues of like what that's like to like all of a sudden be with a whole different stratus.
Yeah.
Of
That's a
people.
theme that I tend to land on often with my books. I don't know, like, again, probably therapy, but just, sorting through these things. And I'm sure you have that too with your books. Like, you keep landing on these themes over and over because you're trying to work through it yourself, or there's something out there you don't understand. You see something on the news, you're like, that's not fair, and it ends up being a theme in a book.
Yeah, exactly. I had an interviewer once say, all of your books are about mothers. I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't tell
Everything's
mine.
fine, Mom. So let's see, okay, so I'm like, oh, we can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. It's a great book. Let's talk about some of the other stuff you're up to. So The Widows, give us a little update on what's happening.
So I have, I read a series called the Young Rich Widows series. There are currently 2 out right now in paperback and ebook, and the 3rd will be out next summer. And that is a fun story set in the 80s. Providence, Rhode Island, which back in the 80s was super mobbed up. So lots of, big Italian mobsters and fur coats and shoulder pads. And it's about
big hair,
and so much fun. It's about 4 women who are coupled with partners in a law firm, and the plane goes down with all the partners, and the women inherit the law firm, even though they are not attorneys. They have no idea what they're doing. And what they soon discover is they also inherited a $4 million debt to the mob. And it's just such a blast to
Everything
write.
you don't. So is it really fun?
It is
writing
so much
with
fun. Yeah.
Your co-authors.
Yeah. And that's one of the ones that's in development with Amazon Studios. So
For
all the
television,
fingers and toes
for TV?
crossed. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you have another co-authored book coming out with your fellow killer authors. If you guys
Right.
are online on Facebook, you know that Kimberly is 1/3 of the Killer Authors Club, along with Kara Ruda and
Heather
Gudenkauf.
Gudenkauf. Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so Killer Author Club is an author interview series. We interview every other Tuesday night. We have an author on. Emily's been on.
I've been on. It's fun.
It's so much fun. Let's see, we have Lee Child coming up. We have
Cool.
Nicole Bart,
Oh.
Heather Gudenkauf.
Yeah.
And then next year we've already booked our 2026, except for maybe 2 or 3 slots, and it is star-studded. I mean,
Amazing.
amazing.
That's amazing.
So, but with Heather and Kara, my co-host, we have just written a book as well, a co-authored book as well. So that's called Take Back the Night. And we pitched it as The Husbands. Have you guys read The Husbands? It's fabulous. The Husbands meets an adult version of I Know What You Did Last Summer. So
I love it. I mean, I am such a sucker for a good pitch. I'm like, give me a pitch, and I'm like, I'm in. I buy it. Click.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when
So
does
that
that
was
one
fun.
come out? And is that like contemporary, or is it set?
Yeah,
in
it's
like
contemporary.
The past? Okay.
Yeah, and it's slated for winter 27. So I don't know what that means
okay.
exactly, but
Yeah.
early 2027.
We will
I think.
definitely keep an eye on it. So that's a lot. So tell me how you keep all the plot lines straight. I mean, that's a lot of books you're working on simultaneously.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually have discovered that I do best when I write my solo book together with one of the co-authored books. And I cannot
interesting.
explain it other than to say, like, at some point I catch momentum. I think it's partly because I get to bounce back and forth between the stories, and the stories are so very different. Like my solo books are very different than the ones I co-author. And if I get bored of one on Tuesday, then I flip to the other, and then so you don't get bored as quickly of a story, or if you get stuck, you can, flip to the other book and write that. And then somehow I catch momentum and they both just fly out. It's
That's amazing.
bizarre.
Because the tone, I don't know about Take Back the Night, the tones are different in Widows and
Yeah.
what you write,
Yeah.
your books.
Yeah.
So you've got to switch storyline and plot and character, but also tone.
Yeah, but I think, I like to plot out my books in advance. So I'm working from an outline. So I think that helps too. It kind of is the roadmap
Yeah,
of what
for sure.
I know exactly what I need to write that week when I sit down to write. So that helps. And
I often think of you as I'm wandering through the midnight of my book. I'm like, Kimberly would not do this. She would have this all plotted out properly.
yeah, but Emily writes a book in what, like 6 weeks or something?
I write really fast.
Really fast.
'Cause I'm
And it
just
takes
like
me
this
like
troll
6,
in a cave,
7 months.
just like typing like crazy.
Troll in a
It's
cave.
just whatever works for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, everybody has their own systems and methods and whatever works. Yeah.
Okay. So you're leaving, I know you probably can't talk a lot about this, but you're leaving Amsterdam for the next book.
Yeah.
It's not going to be set in Amsterdam.
It's gonna
Where's
be
the next book
The
set?
next one is set. It's called The Donor, assuming the title sticks. It's another one that won't be out for a while, but it's set here in Atlanta. I'm back to my Atlanta
Oh,
roots.
fun.
Most of my other books are set here in Atlanta. So,
Yeah. And I love when are you going to have like landmarks?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
yeah. Yeah. So, but it's a story, it's called The Donor, and it's about a couple facing infertility, and they get somehow involved in this Facebook group of sperm donors, private sperm donors, and it really exists, and I am a member of it, and it is exactly as creepy as you think it's going to be.
Did they not like ask you, like one of their screening questions should be, are you a novelist?
Well,
Doing
yeah,
research.
I know.
Oh my
I know. They let me in. They let me in. Yeah.
Oh, be careful what you say,
I
sperm
know.
donors.
Well, I was very quiet. I didn't, you know,
Yeah,
a lot
you
of people, but like on the wall of the group, it's almost like a, I don't want to say dating site, but it's like, you know, hey, I'm a, you know, white from European ancestry, blue eyes, 6 foot tall.
Pick
I live
me.
in Atlanta. I'm willing to travel.
Oh my gosh.
It's craziness.
I cannot wait to read this book.
Craziness.
I'm in. Click.
Craziness.
But yeah. I don't even know what to say after that. I have no words. I just have to think about that. Do we want to do questions? Okay.
Wait, I want-
Look, Kim
wait.
McNamara has a question.
I want.
Have you seen the documentary?
Yes, The Man with 1,000 Children. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Watch it tonight.
It's on Netflix, I believe. Yeah. The Man with 1,000 Kids or something. I want to say he's Dutch too.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
It's totally watch it.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Talk about shenanigans.
That is some shenanigans. I can't wait to read it. Oh my god.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, Emily, talk about your book. I want to give us
Gothic
the.
Town
Yes,
is
it's
Yes,
fantastic.
thank you. Gothic Town is basically about a Manhattan restaurateur named Billy Hope. During the pandemic, she lost her restaurant, had to shut it down. She is in her New York apartment with her 6-year-old daughter climbing the walls, and she gets an email from the town of Juliana, Georgia, and they are offering an economic incentive called the Initiative for families to move down and start their businesses and just kind of give the town a boost. They're offering beautiful Victorian mansions for $100 and, you know, generous business grants. So Billy and her husband Peter and their daughter moved down to Juliana.
Too good to be
Yeah.
true.
Afraid so. Yeah, it's idyllic at first and everything is just picture perfect, and then she starts to notice some really strange things, like the townspeople do a really strange grace before they eat their meals, and it goes from there.
It's fabulous.
And there might be
yeah.
a body or two. So, any questions for Kimberly? Yeah.
Asian, whatever the rich, whatever women.
Oh, Young Rich Widows?
Young Rich
Widows.
Widows.
There are 4 of you that did it, so does each of you have one of the widows and y'all just,
We each write a character, so there are 4 widows, and we each 4 authors, and we each write a character, and we basically will plot out the whole book in advance. And then once we've got the plot, we each write a chapter a week. So we had, and this was in the dark, dark days of COVID when we did this. We were so happy to be on Zooms with each other and be
bet,
talking to
yeah.
people. But we would stay on Zooms for days at a time, just talking through the 4 chapters that we just turned in. We'd go through them, and you know, and then we'd rejig our plot, and then we would talk through. Okay, you pick up the story here, and you carry it to here, and then I pick it up and I carry it to there, and et cetera, and then we would go back to our respective corners and pound out a chapter, and then we
in
would.
each book, you stay with your character?
Yes. Yeah. So I write Camille in every single book. And you know, Camille appears in all the chapters because she's one of the main characters. So other people are writing her, but I have final say on any of her dialogue, any of her actions. if one of my co-authors wrote something that I'm like, Camille would never do that.
Have
I
you
could
said that
yeah,
before?
Yeah.
I love
yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
like a great actress saying like,
Yeah, like
my
yeah,
character
yeah.
would never do that. I love that. That's
yeah,
great.
and we never argued about it because everybody, you know, each person
Respects.
had their own
Yeah.
character who, and it was just, oh, okay, well then we'll fix it.
Cool.
So,
That's cool.
yeah.
Great. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I know you're a big plotter. You do an extensive outline before, and I think I've told you before, this is one of the books that it took me a long time to figure out the whodunit. And
Oh,
which
really?
I love
Okay.
that in a
Yay.
book. Not that I figured it out in all of them, but do you know what the end is going to be when you're plotting out the book? And then how do you take us on these twists and turns? So we're like, okay, that's the one that did it. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, no, it's that person.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Sticking to your extensive outline,
Yeah,
too.
I don't know how I do that, but I do have the ending already in my head. Although I will say in this story, and it's hard to say without giving something away, there was a twist in here that kind of surprised me, and that was more a character's motivation at the very end, why she did certain things. That one was one that came as I was writing it, but like the actual plot and who was the bad guy, that I knew from word number one.
I think of Kimberly as like, she is a precision plotter. And I always feel like your books are skillfully like wrought. Like everything
thank you.
matters.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, and I have such admiration for the way that you do things because I could never keep everything straight. If I don't have it written in
Yeah.
like a color-coded spreadsheet, I don't know what I'm.
my mind is a crazy place.
And I think it's helpful too that you can write it so quickly.
Yeah.
I think part of my problem
Yeah.
too is like it takes me typically 7-8 months to write a book. And by the 8th month, I've forgotten who half the people are in the story.
right.
You know?
Right.
So if you can pound it out really quickly, then it's fresher in your head. I think.
And I was going to say too, something else you do really well along these lines, and you guys will appreciate as readers. So there is a thing that some writers do with a main character is they hide information
Yeah.
from the reader, and a lot of us authors call that cheating.
Yeah.
But you roll out and reveal new motivations. You don't hide, but you very
Right.
deliberately roll them out.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Yeah.
So how do you
Well, I do.
tread that line?
It's a hard line to walk, and I do spend a lot of time thinking about it because the plot, like really, if you look at my outlines, it's mostly plot. And so as I'm writing, like the motivations and the reasons why they do things and the reasons why they hide things, and they don't maybe hide them from the reader. I think the reader knows that they maybe have a secret, but I haven't quite revealed it yet.
Yeah.
Because I agree with what Emily said. I hate those books where at the very end it's like, oh, well,
I didn't
you know.
tell you
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's unfair to the reader. So I try to be very open, but maybe not revealing everything. But it's a constant struggle, and sometimes I have to, you know, when I write my first draft, sometimes I have to pull back, sometimes I have to give a little bit more, but that's where readers are so important. My agent is my first reader always, and she's really good at saying, oh, this is too soon,
Fine-tune.
or
Yeah. Like it is hard to know how
Yeah.
much to let
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm just trying to remember from a conversation we had. I think probably that read it again for the time. Was this the one that you had to really convince them to let you into to the setting?
So I think that was the Paris Widow. So this is my second book that's set overseas. The rest are all here stateside. And then with the Paris Widow, because I've been kind of gunning to set a book in Europe for as long as I've been writing books, pretty much. And my editor was just always very hesitant to let me do it. And I finally just wore her down with The Paris Widow, which, by the way, I pitched as The Amsterdam Widow. And she was like, well, Amsterdam is maybe a little too niche. Could you set it in another big European city like London or Paris? I'm like, well, those are very different countries, but okay. But, you know, ultimately, I think she was right, because The Paris Widow, first of all, it came out during the summer of the Paris Olympics, which that was
timing.
like kismet right there. But also, it was a bigger plot, maybe in terms of like action on the page. Like it starts with an explosion in a square, and then the husband of my main character disappears in this explosion. And you know, Paris is one of those places where you don't have to set too much of the scene. You can say Eiffel Tower and everybody knows what it looks like, right? Or the Seine, and everybody knows. So, you know, I did have to do a little bit more explaining the set and describing the setting in this book. So it was probably a good thing. And I, at the time, was like, okay, baby steps. At least I'm in Europe. I'm on the right continent.
Yeah.
So my next book, when I pitched an Amsterdam story, they were like, oh, fine.
It'll do it. You did very well also with the weather. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
always cold.
Always cold.
Always windy.
Yeah, raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So husbands disappear a lot.
They do. They do.
The
Yes.
Marriage Lie.
Marriage Lie.
Which I was reading, and my wife said, "Is that fiction or not?"
I know, right? I've gotten so many readers who are like, given their spouse has given them the side eye when they're reading that. There's one called My Darling Husband, also. Yeah, that's another, you know, we talked about themes before. That's another one of my themes is, you know, these relationships that, you know, you don't have to really explain too much. Everybody knows what it's like to share a house and a bed. Even if you don't, you can imagine what it would be like to share a house and a bed with someone and a life with someone and then be betrayed. Either they have a secret, they do something that, you know, you're maybe not on board with, like what kind of betrayal that is. And it's something that comes back in a lot of my books, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Also
think
therapy, maybe, I don't know. Still married to the Dutchman.
You have a great husband. But it is like a fear. It's like a primal fear.
Yeah.
I guess anyone who's married would have, like,
Yeah.
what if this?
Well,
What if?
and the idea too that, you know, I mean, you meet this person and they've had a whole complete life before you, and they maybe want to get on a better path, but maybe you're, you know, kind of leaving out some of the bad things that they've done in their past, but the past never stays in the past. And so there are just a lot of different ways to go with that, and it's a theme that I really like to write about.
Getting rid of those husbands.
That's right.
Yes. Do you always want to be a writer? When did you know that you wanted to do it?
So I've always been into books. I've always been a big, you know, reader, and I always thought it would be really cool to write a book. I thought I had a story or two to tell, but it was kind of put on the back burner for many years, and I worked in nonprofit fundraising. And I was doing consulting in 2008 when the crash hit, and I lost all my clients overnight, and I was like, well, I could go out and find another job, or maybe this is the universe giving me that nudge that, you know, maybe I wouldn't have done myself. So I told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm gonna write a book. And he was like, you're gonna do what? What? He had no idea. I mean, it was that much of a secret dream of mine. So, yeah, so I just went for it, and now I can't imagine doing anything different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But were you one of those?
No, I mean, I love to read.
Yeah.
I didn't like really understand that it was something I could do.
Yeah.
It didn't feel accessible because, like, I grew
Right.
up in the 70s and 80s.
That's it.
No internet.
I think the internet made it
Yeah.
feel much more
I
possible
just
for
thought,
me.
like, you have to live in New York and,
Yeah.
like, know publishing people.
Yeah.
And that's
And
not
also,
me.
like, research wise, like,
Yeah.
how do you do research? You have to live next to a library. And yeah, it felt like unattainable for many years,
Yeah.
right? And also, it's not a get rich quick scheme. So, you know, when the kids were little and we had mortgages and, you know, all sorts of bills, and it was
It was a hobby at
Yeah,
first. I
right.
think a lot of writers,
Yeah.
I know it started off as like the secret hobby.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't tell.
Yeah.
Did you tell anyone?
No.
You were
Well,
writing a book?
my family, my parents knew. But the thing about, like, if you go out and just tell your friends, hey, I'm writing a book, every time you see them, they're going to be like,
How's the book?
have you gotten it published yet? When can I buy it? Where
Is
can I
it a
buy
movie?
it?
Is
Yeah.
it a movie
I
yet?
know.
Did you
And-
give it to Oprah?
Right, that.
You should give it to Oprah.
That, exactly
you'll be
that.
good.
So I was like, maybe I'll just keep it a little secret until I know for sure that I can actually write a whole book. And then, then I came out of the closet, so to speak. But I know lots of authors who, you know, their first books were in crayon. They have been writers all
Yeah.
their lives. So
I wrote
there are multiple
those kind
ways
of
to get
books,
there.
but I quit when I was about like 14. That was
Yeah.
kind of the last.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Anybody
fun.
else?
I have a technical question about diamonds. I read somewhere that a lab-grown diamond reflected rainbows, but a mined diamond is just white on it. Is that true? See,
I don't know about the rainbow thing, but it does have to do with, and again, I'm not a chemist, but it had the machines that can detect the difference between the lab-grown and the mined has to do with what it reflects. It's phosphorescence. Is that make sense to anybody? In the
Maybe the light spectrum is
Yeah,
different
but it's
somehow,
not something
what
you
it-
can see with your blind eye or even with a
I
loupe.
know because I've tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
But even people who know what they're talking about and know what they're looking at can't tell the difference. You have to have one of those machines.
Kim.
Emily, where are you going to be in Irving?
Where are you going to be tomorrow night?
And read it again books.
Oh, have fun.
Yes, I am. I'm very excited about coming. You guys come by if you would like to hear a little bit more about Gothic Town.
And so let's stop. There will be wine.
Oh, there will be wine. Awesome. Anybody else with a question? Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So yes, thank you. Thank you again, both of you. And there will be a book signing, so you all will just line up over here if you'd like, and we'll ask you to sit there and sign. And Emily, can somebody come up to you and ask you to sign as well? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, well, thank you both so much. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you.